By the way, I really just wanted to say how much I love being your teacher. As a side note, I really love coming to work to teach you guys. Anyway, okay, so the first question, right? Part of the question is identify multiple worlds, perspectives in the story. What does that mean to you guys? Okay, so go ahead in the chat. Just let's go ahead and let's hash this out. What does that mean? So as we read this week, you guys got to figure out what this is before you even read. So what does that mean to identify the multiple worlds or perspectives in the story? What could that possibly mean? Type in the chat. Yeah. What? I posted the question in the chat. But also your the worksheet should be in that Canvas, the reading starting April 14th. And then if you click on the link that I posted, that's the worksheet. And then you make your own copy. Okay, let's see what people are writing. Mindsets, how characters think about their life. Perfect. Or situations, right? Or situations. Identifying other characters' perspectives on the main character's issue, apostrophe S. Like the antagonists or sides or side characters. Perfect. Different points of view of the character. Thank you, Tada. I mean, what else though? Like what else? Like, what are these worlds, right? So in To Kill a Mockingbird, we're gonna have a black world and a white world, right? We're gonna have a kid's world, right? And an adult world, right? We're gonna have yeah. Like we're gonna have a wealthy and elite world clash with a really disadvantaged world, right? Because we have Calpurnia, who is the maid, right, or the babysitter for Atticus and his family, and Atticus's family is made of an elite family, right? So these worlds will collide, and sometimes in your own worlds, right, in your own life, worlds collide, and that's where you get Pilikia. And all good. Okay, so let's see, what else did you guys write? It could be about different races and how different their worlds are. Oh yes, totally. Okay, so you're gonna find, right, that the conflicts that arise in your stories, right, is due to having different worlds, living in different worlds. And as you guys know, in these worlds, there's different roles. Okay, so quite interesting. And if you guys are typing in things or writing things down, this is now like, I mean, you guys should be writing stuff down so that you guys can bring stuff to the table as far as discussing, right? So let's see. So you want us to take notes from our book below the, yeah, totally. Just keep it all in one place, all right? Why? Because then when you have like a CER or maybe an essay response, you have, yeah, direct quotes, memorable quotes with the page number, so you don't have to go back and look, okay? So that's you guys, okay? That's, and you guys need to figure out how this stuff works best for you. So if you're doing it in your tablet, wonderful. If you think like, maybe I should just do it on this worksheet, this doc, then good for you, because it'll be faster. You have to copy and paste anyway, but it's up to you. I want you guys to do what works, okay? All right, and then in Nickel Boys, right, Elwood, he comes from a disadvantaged world, right? In his world, there are different rules, okay? So pretty sad. Anybody started reading Nickel Boys? Oh, you guys are gonna catch on fire. Okay, let's see. Journey said, you guys are gonna rage. Okay. Characters' point of views, that also the setting and the mood. Okay, all right, next part. Okay, go ahead and talk about, well, what makes these worlds unique, right? So I already talked about the rules of the worlds. They have different rules in different worlds. What else makes someone's world unique and different from other people? personality and more. Oh, yes. Oh, boy. The morals play a big part, right? Whether someone's religious, whether someone's not. Those worlds collide all the time, right? And sometimes they even collide with legal things, law, within the law, right? How they were raised, very good. Age, how they see the world. Yes, it makes it unique, right? So some of you guys were in my English class in ninth grade, and we just got through where they kill Simon in Lord of the Flies, and quite interesting, right? Because Simon's world wasn't really the same world as the other kids, right? Quite interesting. Who read Lord of the Flies? No? Oh my goodness. If you haven't, you should. Okay, the backgrounds of themselves and their family. Yes, all of that stuff, right, contributes to making each and every one of your worlds unique. Okay, very good. Okay, and then the last question. And this one's a big one, you guys. What are the rules of engagement? What is that? What does that mean? What are rules of engagement? Have you heard of that term before? No? Okay, I'm going to give you an example, okay? So like in every class, there are different rules of engagement as far as like how you behave in certain classes, right? Like some classes, some classes they allow you to have your phones out, right? Some classes like you don't call the teacher like Mrs. blah blah blah, right? Or you're not even gonna move in some classes. Depends, right, on what that is, right? But there are rules of engagement, and sometimes those rules are not spoken, right? Same like when you visit your tutu lady, like there's some things you just don't do, right? In comparison to what you would do with your friends, right? So isn't that related to military? It could be, right? The rules of engagement as far as war, right? Like you have to declare war before you actually attack somebody, right? That's just the rules of engagement in war, okay? So what are the rules of engagement, right? So I basically answered the question for you, okay? Since you guys kind of didn't, okay? So even for like family stuff, go ahead and type it in. What is one of the rules of engagement when having family dinner? No phones. Oh, look at that. That's so funny. Okay, what else? No swearing. Well, that would be good. Yeah, that would be good. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Mouths closed when eating. Yeah. Hmm. What else? Okay. What are the rules of engagement after the meal is done for you guys specifically? Clean up. Oh, look, everybody cleaning up. Wash the dishes. Right. What else? Right. Put the dishes away. Clear the table. Wipe the counters. You guys, really? That's great. I just had this conversation with one of my freshmen about like, do you guys wash your own clothes? You guys wash your own clothes, right? And one girl was like, sorry. And I was like, rules of engagement, right? Like, at what age do you start washing your own clothes, people, right? I think I was like sixth grade. My mom was so upset that we kept like throwing our clothes after she folded them all that she was like, you guys wash your own clothes. And then you know what happened? All my stuff turned pink because the red something bled all over my clothes and I got pink clothes for like a whole year. And then also, you guys, how many of you guys wash clothes? You guys know what I'm talking about? I forgot several times that the clothes were in the washer and they turned rotten. Yeah. And then even if you wash it again, it stinks. It doesn't stink, it stinks, right? I mean, it's like, ooh. Right. It's still dirty, by the way. It's like, Sophia, the soccer clothes, like when you forget, like if you wash and then you're like, oh my gosh, it smells like Right? Anyway, I don't know why I went on that, but for you guys, okay, don't go straight to your room, right? Engage in conversation, right? There are rules of engagement. So today we're going to jump into this thing called the Massie Case. Anybody heard of the Massie Case? Raise your hand. No, nothing. Okay. In your notebooks or on your document, I don't know why I do this when I'm like, I want you guys to write down the Massie Case. Just carve out a little space for the Massie Case. Okay. So type it on your docs, the Massie Case. Okay, and then we're going to keep in mind these questions that I just went over, because those are your discussion questions for your reading for this week. But again, identify the multiple worlds and perspectives in the story. So in the Massie Case, and then what makes them unique, and then what are the rules of engagement. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to just play for you kind of like an introduction to the Massie Case, because we're gonna do a jigsaw. So you guys ready? You guys don't have to take notes right now, okay? So make sure you grab the dates and maybe even people's names. You guys ready? Okay, so I'm just gonna play for you guys like maybe 10 minutes of this, and then we'll have like a questions section, and then I'm gonna throw you into breakout rooms to do the jigsaw, and we're gonna come back and share. Okay, and that should basically be our day. And whatever time we have left, you're going to jump in to start reading. Okay, so here we go. You guys have your notes? You guys good to go?
In the waning days of summer 1931, the false calm of Honolulu made by a 20-year-old Navy wife.
She says she was kidnapped, she was taken to this area down on Ala Moana, dragged in and raped 6 or 7 times. This is a total shock, because in the entire history of Hawaii, as far as anybody has been able to find out, no Hawaiian had individually ever assaulted a white woman before. And here is a gang of them supposedly doing it.
Creating this story caused not only the disruption of a community like no other except Pearl Harbor, but also the death of an innocent young man.
The quiet whisper of the initial lie grew to a clangorous din of power, politics, and racism. An ugly noise that resounded through this placid-looking tropical community, and then to the marbled echo chambers of the White House, the War Department, and the United States Senate. The story of the Navy wife and her alleged assailants jumped from the local Hawaiian newspapers to front pages across the United States, fetching the attention of President Herbert Hoover, media baron William Randolph Hearst, and the country's first celebrity attorney, Clarence Darrow. The proceedings were watched by everyone from the social register elite in New York, Washington, and San Francisco, to the working class in Honolulu's low-rent districts. For anybody who saw it plain, the case revealed cold, hard truths about America and the people who ruled it. It was already a beautiful escape, this island city in the middle of the Pacific. 2,000 miles from the California coast, it was America, but with better weather. And it was run by white people, or haoles as the natives called them. In the summer of 1931, wealthy tourists were gliding into Honolulu Harbor and then onto Waikiki Beach, where the beautiful young Hawaiians stood ready to serve.
If you need an umbrella to be pitched in and speared into the sand, or if you need a cool drink, or if you need to get surfboard lessons or ride a canoe, anything that you need to do that involves frolicking, the Beach Boys are there to satisfy. And it's said that they certainly did satisfy.
Keeping the tourists satisfied was a job that paid, but there was only so much beach. So most of the working class kept to their own neighborhoods. Beyond pool halls and barefoot football, there was little to do in those places. Young men could scratch up a Depression-era job at the nearby docks or in construction, or at the Dole pineapple cannery. The lucky ones might even pluck one of the plum spots at the police or parks departments. But more and more, those spoils were going to newly arrived haoles. So most young men in neighborhoods like Kalihi, Palama, and Iwilei were at loose ends.
These were desperately, desperately poor places. The streets were so narrow you couldn't get a car into them. They were also where the casual prostitution was. So on payday, they were filled with sailors and soldiers who were crawling around looking for a little action. This was the community that these guys grew up in, without jobs, with a lot of resentment for the military, who they saw around them all the time.
There was a real strong sense of racism coming at us from the military. They were almost entirely haole young men, and a lot of them were Southern. So they had this idea that Hawaiians shouldn't be out and about, having a government, having a good time in Honolulu.
Dark-skinned men frolicking in public with white women was too much for many soldiers and sailors. And the military men knew when they were being made fun of by the beach crowd at Waikiki.
All right, so what are some of the things that you've written down already, right? So what is the year? Okay, 1931, very good, okay. We know a couple other things, right? That there was there are racial tensions because of the militarization presence, right? The military presence in Hawaii. And so I think you guys kind of see the timeline unfolding, right? If 1893 was the overthrow, right? This is 1931, right? So we learned about the Great Depression. It just happened, right? People are super poor at this time, right? Hawaii is not a state yet because I think Hawaii became a state in 1956. Somebody look it up. What is it? Okay, and then so we're in this time of Hawaii as a territory, right? And so what is that, right? They're still self-governing, but they're not self-governing with the ali'i anymore, right? Because they have basically foreigners governing Hawaii at this point, but not the United States. Okay, so 1959. Thank you. Okay, very good. What else, right? We have the military presence and quite interesting, right? Most of them are from the South. And so in To Kill a Mockingbird, this is going to be around the same time period, okay, in the 1930s. Along with that, there's going to be tension because of the social classes, right? The socioeconomic discrepancies between classes, right? So the rules of engagement is going to be one of superior and inferior, right? Marginalized and the people that think they matter. Okay, so just a heads up on that. We have about maybe 3 more minutes of this and then we're going to move on.
But locals didn't push too far. There were simply too many servicemen for safety. In 1931, there were 20,000 in the islands, and more were on the way. Any Saturday night, Honolulu's streets, speakeasies, and restaurants were crawling with off-duty soldiers and sailors. On September 12, 1931, a Kentucky-born Annapolis graduate named Thomas Massie and his 20-year-old wife, Thalia, were among the Navy crowd at a Honolulu night spot called the Alawai Inn. The lieutenant had insisted they go, and she was not happy to be there.
She was from a privileged family, and I think she felt she was perhaps slightly socially superior and didn't like to mix too much with the Navy crowd.
Other people in the military would complain that she would go to parties with Tommy, they would fight, she'd bite him, throw things, and then storm out into the night. He had told her recently that he wanted a divorce. She was terribly upset about the possibility of divorce, and so she had agreed to a compromise. He would put her on probation, and if she didn't behave properly, then she would go home to her parents. She didn't want to go to that dance, but she agreed to try to keep the marriage together.
And that night she wandered from room to room and wasn't always welcomed. In fact, there was an incident in which one of the naval officers told her she wasn't popular, and she slapped him. And she walked out into the night before the party was over. She walked in an area that had a rather unsavory reputation. And somebody did see her. 2 people said that she was being followed by a howling man.
Tommy, meanwhile, pretty much didn't notice that she was even gone. This was something she did all the time, so he didn't pay much attention to it until 1 o'clock, when everybody was finally breaking up, and he decided to make a phone call to her at home just to see if she's there. And she was not there.
It was nearly 2 o'clock in the morning, and nearly 2 hours after she'd stormed out of the Alawai, when Tommy finally got her on the phone. She was hysterical and begged him to hurry home. And when he arrived, she told him she'd been assaulted. Over her objections, Thomas Massie called the police. When the first patrolman arrived, Thalia Massie was visibly drunk, and she'd been badly beaten. Her lip was busted, her jaw swollen. She told officers that shortly after she'd walked out of the Alawai, she'd been hauled into a car, driven down Ala Moana Boulevard, beaten, dragged into the brush, and raped by 4 or 5 men.
They say, would you be able to recognize them? She says, absolutely not. It's pitch dark. She said, I could not recognize them if I saw them again. They said, could you describe the car? She said, no, it was, again, too dark.
She couldn't decide what nationality the boys were. She thought they were Hawaiians. She had no recollection of a license plate or what the vehicle looked like, except that she said it had a flapping top.
As Thalia was making her initial statements, another report was making its way through police headquarters. Shortly after midnight, an Hawaiian woman and her haole husband had had a near collision with a carload of young men. In the argument that followed, one of the men had slapped the woman. When she'd called to report the incident, she gave police the license plate number of the car. Chief of Detectives John McIntosh reckoned that these were the same young men who had assaulted Mrs. Massie. Within 12 hours, police had rounded up 5 suspects, all from the Kalihi Palama area.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here because then we're going to do the jigsaw. So everybody's clear, right? We have a Navy wife, right? Who is, so that's also an injustice. I mean, like, social. She was put on probation. So this is the type of the kind of time period we're in. right? Where women were basically treated as not equal to her husband, right? And so being put on probation, I mean, says a lot about the gender roles in a marriage even. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, if you guys look at your canvas, okay, I'm going to give you guys each a section to watch in groups, okay? And you guys are going to watch it basically together, okay? There's gonna be 4 groups. And in those 4 groups, you guys are gonna take notes, all right? Each person should have at least 1 talking point. And then if there's a picture, maybe you can grab that, okay? But just make sure that you guys are all contributing to the story. So I would take notes in chronological order, and then toward the end, the last few minutes, go ahead and organize yourself according to who's going to say what in chronological order. Everybody good on that? Okay. Let's see how this works. Okay, as you guys are waiting for me to make the breakout rooms, go ahead and click on one of the articles on Canvas and just kind of cruise to see. I would look at the timeline. Okay, the timeline one is pretty informational. Okay, so I think I did this right. Cross your fingers, you guys. So room 1, you're going to be looking at the section minutes 11 through 20, and then group 2, 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So it shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to watch the video, take notes, organize yourself, and then we come back to share. Okay, so I think when I put you guys into rooms, everybody can see which room, okay? And then according to which room you're in is what group you're in. Make sense? So the people that are in cohort B, you guys have, you guys are all working together, and then the people in class, you guys are gonna work together, okay? So maybe somebody can share out the video on your side or whatever, and then one of you guys can share out the video on your side. Okay, you guys ready? So about 20 minutes, we'll come back, okay? Be ready to share out. Take notes as well. Okay, so you guys have, you guys 3 over here, you guys have group 3, okay? And then you guys have group 4. You guys have 4 people in your group because the ending is crazy, okay? Yeah. No, you don't have to do that, but I would just play it like if you can share your screen with everybody, okay? That would work out, and then like then you can just listen to one. Okay, so somebody share. Okay, wait, let me give you guys. Okay, because then the streaming I think might work better. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Use the same link. Yeah. You guys in this breakout room heard of the Massie case at all? Okay. Right, and then everybody should be taking notes, yeah?
Born in Hawaii.
Hi, you guys watching it on your own? Okay, and everybody's taking notes, yeah?